Yeah. So can any one of you, sorry, can any one of you let me know like what are the things we saw yesterday last? What was the last topic we were looking into yesterday? So what was the last topic we were dealing yesterday? We started with the topic, we were looking at couple of points, right? So and then like we left out. Yes, very good. Yes, we were looking into the concept of our identifiers. Right. So what did I say an identifier is? You're absolutely right. We are looking into the concept of identifiers. Right. Yes. So two rules we saw. How long can a name be? So what did I say? 31 characters. So maximum length can be of 31 characters. Right. What was the second point I said about the identifiers? What was the second point I said? First point was, yes, you're right. How long can the name be? And what was the second point? How to begin a name. Yes, very good. So I was telling you about the starting character, how to begin giving a name. So what was the rule I said? Starting character must be an alphabet or an underscore symbol. So starting character, yes, very good. So must be an alphabet or an underscore, and subsequent characters. That is the characters that are following the first character. So subsequent characters can be a combination of. So subsequent characters can be a combination of what? Yes. So it can be a combination of a few more alphabets. Okay, some more alphabets, or it can be numbers, or it can be another underscore symbol also. So this is the rule I was telling you. Okay, the first two rules, this is what I was telling you. Subsequent characters can be a combination of some more alphabets or number or another underscore. Okay, now going into the third rule. Going into the third rule. So what is the third rule says? Keywords cannot be used as an identifier name. So third rule says keywords. So I told you that in Python, how many keywords, I'm sorry, in C language, how many keywords are there? Yesterday we discussed a total number of keywords. So how many keywords are there? So keywords cannot be used as an identifier. Very good. So you remember, nice. So 32 keywords are there. So we cannot make use of any of those keywords. Okay, any of those keywords as a name for a variable, for a function, for anything. The keywords cannot be used as an identifier. Say for example, I am saying int if is equal to 10. I am creating a variable like this called as if. We know that if is a keyword. So what will happen if I use this if as a variable name also? So when I run the program, you can see that my program is going to be generating that error. Where is it pointing to? Exactly to this if. So please remember the next rule what we have to know is keywords. The 32 keywords, none of it we can use it as a keyword, as an identifier. So keywords cannot be used as an identifier. Okay. Now next point. That is point number 4. Okay. Point number 4 says that C language C language is a case sensitive programming language. Now, what do you mean by case sensitive? So it is a case sensitive language. What do you mean by this? So what is that we are coming to say with the help of this word case? So you know alphabets. Alphabets can be written in uppercase and lowercase. So that is what we are saying here. C language is a case sensitive programming language. Suppose while creating a variable, okay, let us say while creating a variable, I am going to create a variable like this. I am saying A. Okay, so I am saying A. Okay, A is equal to 10. But when I am using it, okay, so say I'm saying I'm creating another variable int b is equal to 20. So two variables are there here. So a and b. So a value I'm giving as 10, b value I'm giving as 20. Now I'm saying int c is equal to a plus b. Now when I run this piece of code, see what happens. See what is the error it says basically. A is undeclared. Same way it says B is undeclared, but it is not undeclared. I have declared it here. I am saying this is the A variable. This is the value of that variable. So same way, yes, exactly correct. Same way, this is B. This is the value of B. But what is the problem? Here, while creating the variable, I am creating it as a lowercase letter. I have written it as a lowercase letter. And when I am making use of it, I am using it in uppercase. Okay, so I am writing it in uppercase. That is why it is throwing me this error. So please remember, this is what I mean by C is a case sensitive programming language. So uppercase and lowercase are treated differently for us. So if you are going to create a variable, whichever case you are creating, however you are creating, we have to make use of it in the same manner. Okay, guys, no problem. I will repeat it. Okay, those who are joined in late, yes, you can. See, yesterday we were discussing about the concept of our identifiers, right? So we saw the first 2 points yesterday. That is what should be the maximum length of an identifier. And then we saw what is the first character should be. Now we are looking into the third point and the fourth one. So the third point says that keywords cannot be used as an identifier. So yesterday again we already discussed what is a keyword. So keywords are nothing but predefined words or what we call as a reserved words. So these keywords cannot be used as a name by the programmer. That is, every keyword has a special meaning. We cannot change that meaning. So that is why we cannot make use of it as a variable name or as a function name, anything like that. Okay, and the next point I was telling you is C is a case sensitive programming language. So that means what? Uppercase letters and lowercase letters are treated differently for us. Okay, now have a look here. I just told you that if is a keyword. Am I right? If is a keyword. So when we use if equals to some value, it is going to throw us the error. We just saw that. So now what I'm going to do here is I am saying if. I am giving if like this. That is I in capital letter, F in small letter. Now this is not same as my keyword. This is different. Remember case sensitive. So that if my keyword if everything is in lowercase letters, all my keywords are in lowercase letters. But now this is okay. I can use like this as my variable name. If I run the program, of course, output will not become, but see, there is no error at all. So that is why you remember case sensitivity. So you can make use of the keyword, but not directly like that. Like this, we can change the case and then we can use it if required as a variable name. Right. So the next point, that is point number 5. So what is point number 5 going to say is blank spaces. So blank spaces in between a name is not allowed. So blank spaces in between a name is not allowed. Now, what do you mean by blank spaces? What do you mean by this? Suppose, let us say you are creating a variable to store your name. Okay, I'm going to create a variable to store my name. Now, every person's name has a first name and last name. Some people has a middle name also, but basically every person, they have a first name and a last name. So what is going to happen here? If I am going to create a name, okay, I'm going to create a variable like this. I am saying first name, first space name is equal to, I am giving some values. Now, when I run this piece of code, this is going to generate an error. Why the error? Here, what is happening? First, I am giving a space and then I am saying name. This is not allowed. So please remember special characters. That is one of my blank spaces. Blank spaces is a special character. So blank space in between a name is never allowed for us. So you cannot give a blank space in between a variable name or a function name, anything. Any name that basically you are going to create, it should be continuous. Or you can use underscore. See, this one, I can write like this. First name. This is valid. I can write like this. I can say first underscore name. This is also valid. But I cannot have any spaces in between. If I give a space, again, my compiler is going to throw an error. Right. So the next rule says that rule number 6. So what does rule number 6 says that special characters. So special characters in between a name is not allowed. So special characters again in between a name is not allowed. Again, if you're using it, that is going to generate an error. That name is not going to be accepted. Okay, now what do you mean by special characters? What are the special characters you are aware of? All these are special characters. There are some more, few more characters also. So in a variable name, we cannot make use of any of these characters. If we try to use them, it is going to generate an error for us. So all these type of special characters cannot be used in a variable name. So just remember this point. This is our point number 6. So what will happen if I try to use it? Say suppose again we are creating the variable. So here I'm saying int. Okay, I'm saying sum, or let us say email at the rate of id. I am creating a value like this. Let us say how many email IDs I have. I want to keep a count of it. I'm having 5 email IDs. I want to store equals to 5. Okay, I'm creating a variable like this, like to keep a count of how many mail IDs I'm having. I'm creating like this. Now when I run this program, see what happens. So it is not possible for us to have any special characters in between a name. So if we try to do it, that again is going to generate an error. So that is your point number 6. Right. Okay. Now, what other things? What other things you should be knowing? Okay. Let us say point number 7. Okay. Variable names must always be unique here. Within a block should always be unique. One very important point, that is a variable name within a block must always be unique. Okay, guys, tell me one thing. Voice is not audible only to few or everybody is having the problem? Kindly ping me. Voice is not audible for anyone. Is it not clear? No, it is not audible for everyone means I can say there is a problem in my side. If it is not audible only for you or a few students, please check your internet connection here. I am also using Yes, I am using here a Wi-Fi connection only. So kindly check the internet connection on your end also, please. So what is the next point I said? Variable name within a block must always be unique. Now the question is, what is this block? I'm saying variable name within a block. So what is this word block? So here in C language, this open curly brace and this closing curly brace is there now. That is what we call as a block. Okay, we call this whatever we write inside this open and close curly brace, we call it as a block of statements. We say that as a block of statements. So please remember this is a block. So within opening curly brace and closing curly brace, the statements that you write. Okay, so what is the rule says? Variable names within a block should always be unique. Now, what do you mean by that? Suppose here I am creating a variable like this. I am saying int a is equal to 100. Now I am creating another variable. Same name I am giving. Int a is equal to 1000. The value may be different. Here it is having the value only as 100. Here the value is 1000. The value is different, but the variable name is same. So again, when you try to run something like this, it is going to end up throwing errors. See what is going to happen. So it says redefinition. A is already there and you are trying to create the same A again. So it is not allowed for us. So please remember within a block, that is within this opening and closing curly braces, all the variables I am creating should have a unique name. Okay, say for example, you may say, ma'am, this is an integer. What if I am creating a variable of a different data type? Let us say float. Float A is equal to, I am saying 10.52. Now, what is this float? Float is another keyword. Float is another keyword that is used to create values that are of decimal type. It is fractional values or a decimal value. I told you yesterday integer means whole numbers, full numbers. Now float is a value that is used to create like this fractional or decimal values. Okay, so now you can say, ma'am, this is a different type of data. This is a different type of data. Even though both are different, but the names should also be different. Names cannot be same. Now when I run this, see again it is a problem only. See what it says, conflicting types for A. So conflicting types means what? One is an integer, one is a float. Which one to take? The compiler is getting confused. So that is the problem here. That is the reason why I said this rule. Variable names within a block should always be a unique name that you are using. Right. Okay. The next point number 8. Okay. Point number 8. The next rule that we should follow is, see, there are some predefined variables available for me. In C language, we have certain predefined variables. Now, what is this predefined variables? That is variables that is already created for me. They have created the variable also. They have given a value for that variable also. So everything is done. So yes, exactly like pi. One of the classic examples of a variable predefined variable is pi. See, pi value is 3.1415 like that. So that is never going to change. So what they have done, they have already created a variable called pi and they have given a value also for it. So now these predefined variables are, where is it present? These predefined variables, where is it present? Please remember these variables are present inside the header files. So where are these variables present is, these variables are present within the header files. Sorry guys, just a second please. Yes, you're exactly right. It is present in the libraries. Just 1 second guys. Yes, guys, I'm sorry. Yes, you're exactly right. In the libraries. So the libraries is what we call as our header files. So header file. Guys, is my voice okay now? Yeah, okay, thank you. So as I was telling you, one of the header file what we have is the math.h header file. Inside the math.h, we have predefined functions that are related to the mathematical things like square root, power of, cos, san, like that, sine, your tan theta. So all these predefined functions are actually present. They are created for us, predefinedly available, and those functions are placed inside this math.h header file. Okay, so along with all those functions, there is also a predefined variable available inside this header file. So that variable is this one. Okay, so this is a small program I wanted to show you about. Okay, so as I said, the predefined function what we have here, the header file is called as math.h. Inside this header file, I have a predefined variable which is called as m underscore pi. This is the name of my predefined variable, m underscore pi. Suppose in your program, let us assume you are doing a mathematical calculation program. So you need to include this math.h in your program. Okay, so what we'll do, like my hash include, I will say hash include math.h. So like this only I will include this header file. Okay, after having this header file, I told you that already inside this header file, there is one predefined variable available for me called as m underscore pi. Now, if you also create a variable with the same name, okay, so what is it? Already one predefined variable called as m underscore pi is available in this header file, and you are also creating a variable with the same name in your program. Like this, if you do, your compiler will throw you an error. So it is going to throw us an error. So this variable is already defined for us. So you cannot create the same name again. It is not allowed. So this is another important rule that you should be knowing. So whatever header file you are including in your program, okay, whatever header file you're going to include, if that header file is having a predefined variable, then you should not create a variable of the same name. If you create, your program will throw errors. So remember, C language predefined variables are there. For example, like this one. Okay, so for example, you can say math.h. This is a predefined variable. So what is that? In your program, we cannot create a variable with the same name. So this is the rule that you should be following. So these are all the rules of an identifier. Okay, any identifier you take, these are all the rules that you should be following. Okay, say for example, I'm just going to copy this and put it in your chat message. Okay, so these are all the rules that you should remember. No matter what variable name you're going to give, whether you're going to give a variable name. Yes, I have shared the rules in the chat, ma. Okay, so whatever is the variable names, whether you're going to use it for a function, for a variable, whatever it is, make sure that you follow all these rules. Right, so this is all about your variables. So what is a variable? I mean, what is a identifier? How to create an identifier? That is how to give a name. Okay, next topic what we are going to discuss is the topic of our data types. Okay, this is the next topic what we are going to be discussing about. Okay, first tell me, what is a data? What do you mean by that word data? Generally we speak, right? We say that it is a data. What is a data actually? So data, what we call is some information. Am I right? So data is nothing but, yes, very good. So raw collection of details, very nice. So data is nothing but information or a collection of details. Right. Now, what is a data type? So what do you call as a type of a data? What is this type? Yes, you're right. Int, float and all is the type. Now, in a computer language, okay, let us take for example, I am going to collect a student data or a student information. I want to collect a student information. Right. What are the possible things you can collect about a student? I can ask for a name. Okay, what is your name? Basic details, not that much in detail. So age, name, age, mobile number. So what is their mobile number? Email ID. Yes, you're right. So email ID. So what other information? So maybe their marks. What is their average? What is the mark they have got? So this one. So like this, I will keep on collecting the data. Yes, gender. I can collect the gender of the student. So like this, I will be collecting all the informations about a particular student. There are a lot of informations. I can collect the address, father name, mother name, what are they doing, qualification. So many details are there for me to collect. Right. So let us assume this is the details I want for now. Okay, now when I talk a name, how will you write your name? A group of characters. Am I right? Any name can consist of a group of characters. So this name comes under the data type category called as strings. It is going to come under the data type category called as strings. So what is a string? Strings are nothing but group of characters. What are strings? Group of characters. Again, email ID. How do you write your email ID? Some alphabets, some numbers, some special characters like that only. So that is again comes under the strings category. Again, it is nothing but a group of characters. So group of characters, what we are going to give, that is my nothing but my string. Okay, now coming about age. How will you say, if I ask you what is your age, what will you say? You will say my age is 5, 10, 15, 20, like that. Will you say my age is 20.5, 20.8, like that and all will you say? No, right? So age means always represented as a whole number. Am I right? Whole number. We will never give a age in points and all. So age is always going to be a whole number. in our programming language, this whole number we call it as int, or we call this as integers. Integers, what are they? Whole numbers. So this is one data type. So the information that I am going to get from the user comes under different type of information. One is a string, one is an integer. Okay, now I take mobile number. Again, mobile number, a 10-digit number. That is also an integer. Mobile numbers, does it have any dot, any fractional values? No. Again, it is an integer. But probably one thing is there. It is a long integer. It is long. The value of a mobile number, I'm giving a 10-digit number. So sometimes with area pin code and all, it may be 12 digit, 13 digit. So it is of the long number. It is a long number. Okay, now coming to marks. Coming to marks. How is the marks going to be happening? Yes, exactly. The person who's all keep on giving the request for the annotations, please stop it. Guys, it's really very irritating here. If you're not interested to attend the class, just sign off and go. I'm not forcing you to stay here. But please don't disturb here. Guys, seriously. Who's that person? Jackie, who's that? Could you please stop giving me the request for an annotation? Guys, if that person is any one of your friend, please tell him to stop it. Right. Now, where are we? Yes, we were discussing about the marks. So when we talk about marks, okay, marks, obviously, yes, you are absolutely right. Point values. So I can say my semester mark is 80.5. So 80.53, 90.28. So you will be having a decimal value in it. The possibility of a decimal value. Such type of data, we call it as real numbers. Please remember the name. What we are going to give for it is we call it as a real numbers. Okay, real numbers means values or numbers that are having fractional or decimal value. Yes, you're right. It is a float, it is a double. We will come to that. First, overall, it is called as a real numbers. So what are real numbers? That is fractional values. Numbers with a fractional values is what we call as a real numbers. Okay, now coming to gender. Gender, how do we give? Normally, we give M or F, male or female. We don't write it fully. We just say M or F. That is a single character. So string is a group of characters. That is multiple characters put together. But here gender, I am going to give only a single character. So this is going to be a single character. Okay, so the data what I can gather from a person comes under so many different categories. This is nothing but my data type. This is what we call as my data type. So data means information, and the information that I am going to collect will come under different categories. That categories is what we call as a data type. Now, coming to our C language, specifically coming to our C language, what are the data types I have in C? So, data types. data types supported in my C language. So please remember, in C language, okay, in C language, data type is classified into three types. We have three types. First one, we call it as a primitive data type, or another name for it, we call it as a fundamental data type. We call it either as a primitive data type or we call it as a fundamental data type. Okay, this is the first category. The second category, we call that as, yes, very good, derived data type. Yes, I will come to that. Okay, the next data type is what we call as a derived data type. So option B. Yes, second type is my derived. And the third category, can you tell me what is the third category? You're absolutely right. The person who said derived, yes, very good. User defined data type. So these are the three classifications of a data type. Okay, so in C language, there are many data types available. How am I going to classify the data type is under three categories. So these are the three categories. Right, so now we will see each and every category. Okay, what is a fundamental or a primitive data type? Okay, so let us talk about the first thing, primitive or the fundamental data types. Okay, can any one of you tell me how many primitive data types are there in C? How many number? Can you just give me the number? Yes, very good. Four. Okay, so what are they? You're absolutely right. Int, then float, the third one, double, the fourth one, char, and also I have a fifth one. Also, I have a fifth one, which is nothing but void. Yes, void is also considered as a data type. In C language, we don't have Boolean ma. Okay, Boolean is available in programming languages like Python, in Java, but not in C language. Okay, so basically your fundamental or your basic data types or your primitive data types are of five categories: int, float, double, char, and void. Okay, now coming to, yes, coming to our int. We already discussed what is an int. So int is a data type that is used for whole numbers. We call it as integer and it is going to be used for my whole numbers. Okay, now what is this float? What is this float? I said something called as a real number, right? I said something called as a real number, which is nothing but my fractional values. That fractional value is nothing but my float and double. So these two, yes, decimal values. So these two data types, both float and double data type, both together we call it as real numbers. Okay, so what are the real numbers? Float and the double. Both of these data types together we call it as real numbers. So both of these data types are used for what purpose? For storing decimal values. So this is also a real number. Purpose of this to store fractional values. So it is used to store fractional values. Same way, double. Double is also a keyword. So double is also used for what purpose? To store my fractional values only. Now, why do I have two different data types? Why am I having two different data types? So what is the difference between a float and a double? Yes, size. Very good. So the difference between float and a double is the memory size. Okay, we will come to that. Just give us a minute. We will come to that next point. Okay, let us finish first this. Char. Char. Char is for what? I told you here, right? Single character. The single character is stored with the help of this keyword called as char. So char means what? Char means character. So it is used to store a single character. So it is used to store a single character. Very good. Void. Now what is void? You remember yesterday we saw void? Yes, I will come to the size next. Wait. What is void? Yesterday we saw that keyword, right? Yes, void is a return type. Yes, you're absolutely right. Void means nothing. So void meaning nothing. So the meaning of this keyword is nothing. Remember, void is always used only for one purpose. We use the void only used in functions. There is a concept which we will be learning called as functions. So this void data type is used only with my functions. You cannot use it in any other name. You cannot use it with variables. I'm not supposed to use it with a constant, not with anything else. I can use it only with functions. Yes, and one more aspect, functions and pointers. So these are the two places where I can make use of this keyword void. So void means nothing and I can use this keyword only in two ways. One, I can use it in functions. Second thing is I can use it in pointers. For creating a normal variable and all, I cannot make use of this keyword. If I use it, my program will end up throwing errors. Right, so these are all my primitive or my fundamental data types. Okay, now let us come to size next. But first, let us finish this. Okay, let us finish this. What is a derived data type? What are all the derived data types I have? Yes, so this is the rest of the data types. How to classify that? Derived data types, arrays, functions. Okay, arrays, functions. And I have the concept of pointers. So I have the concept of pointers. So these three categories, arrays, functions and pointers, these three categories together comes under the derived data type. Now, what do you mean by derived data type? Yes. So fundamental data types are all this. Fundamental means what? Basic. Basic data types. So derived data types means we have the fundamental, that is, to the fundamental data types we can create some additional functionalities. Here also you will use only the fundamental data types, but to these fundamental data types we will add some additional functionalities. That is why we call it as a derived data types. Okay, right? We will be studying about each and everything in detail. So for now, just get to know that these are the derived data types. Now coming to the last category, user defined data. Yes, nice. So what are the user defined data type I have? I have structures. I have, sorry. Yes, structures. Okay, I have union. Okay, the third option is enum, or what we call as enumerated data types. Yes, and is there anything else? Right, guys. So please remember type def. Type def is a keyword which does not come under data types. Okay, type def does not come under user defined data type. I'll tell you what is type def, but user defined data type is only these three. Now, what is user defined? That is, you are going to create your own data type. Exactly that, yes. So as a programmer, you are going to create your own data type. That is nothing but user defined. Creating our own data types is what we call as a user defined data type. And user defined data type, we can create it in these three concepts. I have three concepts to create my own data types. That is nothing but structures, unions, and enums. Right. Okay. Now I know that in C language, what are all the data types that is there. Now, my next point, what I wanted to discuss with you is what is the importance of a data type? What is the importance? Why we require data types? Why are we classifying? Why do we have all this interfloat, double char, this function, this union arrays? Why do we have all those things? Yes, very good. So one of the most important usage of a data type is memory allocation. Okay, the first important thing, responsibility of a data type is memory allocation. Okay, the second usage is to tell the compiler. So the next one is to tell the compiler what type of data we are working with. Okay, this is the two things. In this, most important one is memory allocation. Now, what do you mean by memory allocation? Okay, what is the concept of this memory allocation? See, each and everything I am planning to store inside the computer will require some memory. Simple, you're just creating one Word document, one text document. That also will occupy some memory space, right? So, like that, the values that I am going to store inside the system. For example, I am asking the user to enter all this information. You enter your name, you enter the age, what is your mobile number, what is your email ID. I am getting all this information. So I want to store it. I want to store it and keep it. So how much of memory space will this data require? Who decides it? How to decide that? For that purpose only data types are given. So please understand your system will allocate the memory based on the data type. Now, what is that? Now, first one, when I talk about memory allocation, remember what are all the fundamental data types we had? We had integer, we had float, we had double, we had char. So these are the fundamental data types what I was having. Forget about void. Forget about void for now. Let us take these four into consideration first. Void we will discuss, as I said, when we are dealing with our pointers, when we are dealing with our functions, we will discuss on the void. For now, let us take these four. Now, when I create a variable of integer data type, how much of memory it is going to occupy? How much of memory is allocated for an integer? Yes, either 2 bytes, very good, or what is the other option? 4 bytes. So either 2 bytes or 4 bytes. So whenever I talk about this int keyword, whenever I create a variable using this int keyword, how much memory space will be occupied? Either 2 bytes or 4 bytes. Now who decides this? Based on the computer or based on my compiler architecture. Based on my compiler's architecture, it decides whether to allocate 2 bytes or 4 bytes. Yes, very good. Depends upon the compiler. Okay, how? If the compiler is a 32-bit system, if it is a 32-bit system, it is going to occupy 2 bytes. If it is a 64-bit system, if your compiler is a 64-bit system, then it is going to occupy 4 bytes. This difference is there only in integer, only for int. Please remember, not for any other data type. This 2 bytes and 4 bytes difference is there only for the int data type. Okay, so int occupies either 2 bytes or 4 bytes of data. Right. Now, what about the other things? What about the other data types? So when I say float, float occupies how much bytes? Yes, 4 bytes. Very good. So then double is going to be 8 bytes. Nice. And about char, how much bytes char will occupy? 1 byte. So 1 byte char. So this is how that memory will be allocated. Yes, very good. Now tell me one thing. When I say 1 byte, how many bits? 1 byte consists of how many bits? Aye, 8 bits. 8 bits. So please remember 1 byte is equal to 8 bit of your values. Okay. So when I say a float, float will have how many bits? 32 bits. Okay. When I say a double, it is going to have 64 bits. When I say in bits, it is like that. When I say in bytes, you have to calculate like this. Okay. Yes, very good. So this is the memory allocation. So what is the importance of a data type? First one is to allocate the memory. Second one is to tell the compiler what type of data it is. Now what is this telling the compiler based on data means is in your C language, when you are going to print some values, we will be making use of something called as format specifiers. Okay, those who are aware of C, you would be knowing percentage D, percentage F. So how is that percentage calculated is based on the data type. Each and every data type has its own format specifier. So that is what you mean by tell the compiler what type we are working with. Very good. Somebody has posted me the chart. Nice. Okay, so this is the importance of a data type. Now, another question is, right, another question is based on the data type. So based on the, or rather wait, first let us finish variable and then ask this question. Best. So this is about our data types, guys. So data type means gathering the information. The information is going to be of a particular type. So what are all the data types that is supported in my C language and what is the use or the importance of a data type? So this is a general information. Okay. We will discuss more on our data types. We will see some more points about the data types. Right now, yesterday I told you one more topic. You remember yesterday I told you one more topic. What is that? Modifiers. You remember? I told you three things. One, I told you about data types, modifiers, variables. Yes, I am sending it, ma. Yes. Okay. Yes, the next topic, what I wanted to discuss is the concept of our modifiers. So again, what are these modifiers? Modifiers are also related to the data type. So please understand modifier topic is also related to our data type. So what is this modifier is enhancing, modifying, rather to say modifiers means modifying the value of a data. I'm going to modify the value stored inside the data in some way or the other. How? In C language, I have different keywords available. What are those keywords is signed. Signed is a keyword. Second one is unsigned. Okay, then I have a keyword called as short. Then I have another keyword which is called as long. Yes. So these four keywords together form my modifiers. Now, what is the purpose of these keywords or how it is going to modify my data? Okay, so modifying my data. Okay, so how it is going to do this work? Right, first let us take signed. Okay, or rather to say signed and unsigned. We'll take first these two keywords. Okay, please remember signed and unsigned keyword can be used. Okay, it can be used only on integers. So the first point what you have to know is the signed and the unsigned. Yes, ma'am. Signed and the unsigned keywords can be used only on the integers. You cannot use it on a floating point number. You cannot use it on a double. That is on a fractional values I cannot apply. I cannot apply it on a strings. I just told you what is a string, group of values. So these two keywords can be used only on integer data types or int data types. Okay, now let us understand what do you mean by this. When I say signed, signed means it allows both positive and negative number to be stored inside. So what exactly is signed? Whenever I use this keyword signed, it means that inside that variable, I can store both positive numbers also, negative numbers also. Both are allowed for me. But when I use the keyword unsigned, when I use this keyword unsigned, it allows only positive numbers. So whenever you create a variable, if you want that variable to store only positive numbers, we will use this keyword unsigned. So what is this? That is the purpose of these two keywords. So signed allows both, unsigned allows only positive. Right, so this is how it provides the restriction on data. Okay, so these two keywords, what is the purpose of it? It is providing restriction on the data. Okay, now the next two keywords. I have two more keywords also, right? So let us take the next keyword, short. So the next keyword, what I have is short. So what is the purpose of this short? Okay, let us take an example. Okay, I am going to ask the user for his age. Okay, I'm going to ask what is your age and then I'm going to store that age in a variable. So let us say, for example, I am creating the variable like this, int age. So int, because age I told you, it's a whole number. So I will use int. Age is the name of my variable. That is my identifier. So inside this only, I am going to store the value. Okay, so now age. What can be the minimum and the maximum age of a person? Say, if the person is not born at all, his age will be 0. Okay, so then maximum age, how long he is going to live? Let us say 100 years, 150 years. How much longer? 150, 200 years. So how long a person is going to live? So for that small number, okay, for that such a small number, let us keep even 200 years, no problem. For such a small number, why should I waste 4 bytes of memory? Whenever I declare a variable as integer. Yes, exactly. So what is the purpose of short? Short is a keyword that is used to reduce the size of memory. So assume that my system, my system is a 64-bit compiler. Assume that my system is a 64-bit compiler. Okay, in this compiler, right? So 64-bit compiler. In this, whenever I declare an integer variable like this, 4 bytes of memory is going to get allocated. Okay, so for storing such a small data, such a small value of 200 maximum, why I should waste 4 byte of memory? So why can't I reduce the memory size? For that, what I will do? I will create a variable like this short int age. So instead of creating it like int age, I will create it as short int age. So now what is going to happen? It will allocate only 2 bytes. So for the short, whenever you use this keyword short, it allocates only 2 bytes of memory. That is the advantage of my short. So normally integer occupies 4 bytes. So when I want to reduce that memory, I will use the keyword short. Now same way, I have long. I have long. So what is the purpose of long? So long is used to increase the memory. So short we use it to reduce the memory. Long we use to increase the memory. Increase the size allocated. How? How? So again, let us take a same example. Yes, exactly correct. Let us take a same example. So let us take the same 64-bit compiler. You are declaring a variable, okay, called, oops, sorry guys. Yeah. Okay, you're going to create a variable, say x. Okay, x is going to have 4 bytes, but you're going to store a very big number inside that. Inside x, I want to store a number like this. Like this. So inside a 4 bytes, you have some capacity. It can take only from this much of data, like that some capacity is there. So when we go beyond that capacity, the data will not be stored properly. Some issues will be coming. Okay, we will deal. Yes, we will deal with that later. What is the issue? We will deal with later. But please remember, every byte you are allocating. Okay, 1 byte means I have a minimum maximum value. 4 bytes means I have a minimum maximum number. What I can store inside that. Same way, if I want to store such a big number, 4 bytes may not be sufficient. So what I need a bigger data type. So how to increase the size of my int? How can I increase the size of my int is with the help of this modifier called as long. So what I will do? Long int x. I will create a variable like this. Long int x. So now how much of memory will get allocated? 8 bytes. When I use this word long, 8 bytes of memory is going to get allocated for me. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah. So this is the usage of my modifiers. This is the usage of my modifiers. Again, please remember short. Short can be used only with my integers. You can use it only with the int. That is only with the integer value numbers. Or rather to say, sorry, with the int data type. I can use this keyword short only with the int data type. This long keyword can be used with what? Long keyword can be used with two data types. Remember, long keyword can be used with two data types. One is int. What is the other one? Any idea? No, not float, but you're close. Double. Yes. So this long can be used with two values. One is integer, other one is double. I can also create a variable like this. Long double y. So double occupies 8 bytes. Upper long double. Remember, double data type occupies 8 bytes. A long double will occupy 16 bytes of memory. Please remember the memory allocated for a long byte, yes, is 16 bytes. So double the data type. Whatever is double, double of that will be given for my long double. Same way for my integer, right? So int means 4 bytes. Long int means double the size. It is going to give me 8 bytes. So yes, you're right. So long double is going to occupy 16 bytes of memory. Okay, this is the usage of my modifiers. That is how it is going to modify my data types. My data type is going to hold some value. How to modify the values of my data type is with the help of these keywords. Modifiers are nothing but keywords. The 4 keywords what we will be using is our modifiers: signed, unsigned, short and long. And I already told you signed and unsigned can be used only with my int. So only with the int. So if for example, let us add an example for that also. So I can say example signed int a is equal to, I can give either a positive number or I can also give a negative number. I can say signed int b is equal to minus 96. Yes, both are valid. Both the values are valid. Same thing for unsigned. Unsigned, how will I create? Unsigned int c is equal to, remember, I can only give positive numbers. So for an unsigned data type, I can only give positive numbers. If I try to give a negative value, what will happen? We will discuss that later. You can give, but it will not produce the correct output. Okay, that I will tell you. First, let us discuss all this. Then I will tell you what is going to happen there. Okay, these are few examples of the signed and unsigned. Here, you have to remember one point. By default, by default, okay, by default, every variable that we create, every integer variable, every integer variable that we create belongs to the belongs to the signed category. So belongs to which one? Belongs to the signed. Now, what do you mean by this? What am I coming to say by this? What is the meaning of this statement? So I am saying by default, every integer variable that I am creating or that we are going to create belongs to the signed category. That is, when you create a variable like this, when I am going to say int x is equal to, or just create a variable like this, int x, that's all. Now, by default, the compiler will take this as a signed data. So what is going to happen when the program is running? When you are going to compile the program, the compiler will automatically add this. It will automatically add signed int x. Yes, it is automatically going to add this keyword to your variable. So that is what I said. By default, every variable that you're creating, no need for us to mention this keyword. Every time, no need for us to mention signed int A, signed int B. No, not necessary. Because by default, every variable that we create, okay, is considered as a signed only. It is considered as signed. Not only for integers, every variable that we create, whether it is a floating point, whether it is a double, whether it is an integer, every variable by default. Yes, I'm just explaining that, Raz. So what did I said is every variable that we create in a program belongs to the signed category by default. What do I mean by this is whenever I create a variable like this of any data type, so let it be even float. I am saying float y. So let us say double. So let us say double z. So like this, you are creating the You are creating the variables, right? So by default, what will happen whenever we create a variable like this, the compiler, the compiler will automatically add, when it is going to convert our program, it will automatically add this keyword. So how it is going to create the variable? It will create it like this. It will add this keyword signed. So that means that in that variable, we can store both positive and negative numbers. So it is possible for us to store both positive and negative numbers in X, in Y, in Z also. So if you want to create a variable that should not allow negative numbers, compulsory you have to give this keyword. So when you want to create a variable, you are saying, okay, this variable C should not allow any negative values. Then compulsory we have to give this keyword. So while creating the variable, we have to mention, okay, it is unsigned. Okay, we have to mention it as unsigned. So please remember that very clearly. So by default, every variable we create belongs to the signed. So there is no need for us to write this signed every time. Even if you don't write this keyword also, the compiler will automatically add that. So no need for us to mention every time that keyword and then create the variable. Okay, so these are all the points that you should remember with regarding to the concept of our modifiers. Right. Okay, let me share this also to you. Yeah, there you go. Right. So what all we discussed, I just copy pasted it over there. Okay. Now moving on to our next thing. See, all these are basic, guys. We are not gone into any programming yet. So all these are the basic fundamental things. Okay. So now let us go to our next thing. Okay. The next thing is our variables. The next concept, what you should be aware of, is the concept of our variables. So what is a variable? Right, variable everybody knows, right? We have been saying variable, variable from the beginning, right? So what exactly is a variable? Sorry guys, I think I copied it 2 times. Sorry about that. Yeah, please tell me. Yes, very good. Variables are nothing but names used to store values. So what exactly is a variable? Variables are nothing but names that are used to store values inside it or within it. Okay, now give me a sec. Guys, can you please tell me the data types what I shared you? Did I share it to everyone or did I share it to any one particular person? I'm sorry, did everyone get it? The data type notes what I shared you, did everyone get it or did I share it to any particular person? Sorry, I did not see that. Okay. Okay, done. Thanks, yeah. Okay, anyways, I will be sharing sir also. He will forward it to you in your group. Okay. Yes. So coming back to our variables. So what is a variable? I said variables are nothing but names used to store values. Okay. Now another name for a variable. We call it as a container. We are going to call it as a container. Okay. What exactly is a container? What can you tell me? What is the use of a container? We have a water bottle. Water bottle is a container. Our tiffin box is a container, right? Yes, it is used to store something. Same concept in my programming language also. So in the programming language, the containers are called as variables. So containers are used to store something inside it, and that containers a technical name given to it, we call them as variables. Okay, so what is a variable? Variable are nothing but names that are used to store values within it. So we can also call it as an identifier. Variables are names or what we call as an identifier. So that is used to store the values. Okay, now what is the next point? How to create a variable? What are all the different ways I have to create a variable? So different syntaxes. How can I create a variable? What is the syntax? Yesterday itself I told you. What do you mean by the word syntax? Rules. Every programming language has a set of rules. Yes, so we have to follow those rules. So how to create a variable? What is the syntax for it? So we have to mention the data type. First, we have to mention the data type. That is, what type of data the variable is going to be holding. Whether it is an integer, whether it is a float, is it a char? So what type of data my variable is going to be holding? That needs to be mentioned first. Okay, so that is the first value you're going to give. Then a space followed by the variable name. You are going to give a name for your variable. So again, variable name is your choice. You can give whatever variable name you feel like. So give the variable name. Okay, this is one way of creating. Okay, this is one way of creating the variables. So first way, what you're going to say? Data type, space, variable name. Yes. What is another way? Same thing, data type, space, variable name 1, comma, variable name 2, comma, variable name 3, comma, like this, you can keep on adding n number of variables. How many ever variables you want, you can create it together. So variable name n number of variables. Close it with a semicolon. So what is the second thing? This one will create only one single variable. Say for example, take an example like this, int a. One single variable. Yes, correct. So I am saying double b. I am saying char c, float f, long int y. So like this, creating one single variable, we use this syntax. One variable at a time. When we want to create multiple variables, I want to create more than one variable, then I will be using this syntax. What I will say, int, okay, x, comma, y, comma, z. So I'm creating how many variables here? 3 variables. So all the 3 variables belong to this integer. And whatever the variable names, x, y, z. Suppose I'm giving like this. Say float, mark 1. Or let us say more specific, English, comma, maths. So, comma, science. So 3 subjects marks I want to store. Again, marks can be a fractional value also. So I'm using the float data type. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, I'm using the float data type. So for three subjects I'm creating. So when we want to create multiple variables of the same data type in one single line, we will be using this syntax. Okay, the third way of using. Okay, the third way of using, yes, I know it is time. I'll finish with this, okay? So the third way is data type, space, variable name equals to give a value also for that variable. So this is another way of creating my variable. So what are the different ways? This is the first method, creating a single variable. This is the second method, creating multiple variables. Now the third method is while creating the variable itself, give the value also for it. Say something like this. Int x is equal to value. Float y is equal to some value. Same way double z is equal to, again, a big number you can store, no problem, because double is 8 bytes. It is going to accept even a bigger number. So like this we can create. Okay, here one very important point you should know. If you are going to create a char variable, I am giving the name of the variable gender is equal to, how to give the values? Within single quotation. Please remember, for the char data type, whenever you want to give the values, I have to give it in single quotation. So I am going to give it like this. So I am creating the variable char gender is equal to, within single quotes you have to mention F or M. Whatever you want, you can give it as its value, but only single character. Okay, guys, these are all the basics about your variable. Okay, guys, I'm wrapping up the sessions. Okay, thank you so much. We'll meet up again tomorrow. And I will just share you this also.